talking all about my favorite back to school activities. Now, in this video, we're not talking about songs or games or things like that. We're talking about different types of activities that are my favorite for back to school. Lots of these things are activities that you could create yourself and create the papers and the manipulatives to go along with them, but they are all activities that I have created in my TPT shop. So I am going to link all of them down below, or if I haven't created them but I'm using them from someone else, I will try to link theirs down below as well. So let's get right on in with some of my favorite back to school activities. The first one that I want to mention is called Find a Musician Who Can. Now, this one is essentially like a human scavenger hunt. So each student gets a piece of paper that has a whole bunch of different questions, and they essentially want to find another student in the class who can do them. So example might be, find someone who can sing Mary Had a Little Lamb. So they walk around the classroom and ask their friends, can you sing Mary Had a Lamb? Can you sing Mary Had a Little Lamb? Can you sing Mary Had a Little Lamb? Until they find someone who is willing to do it. When they have someone who is willing to do it, that person signs their name next to the activity. Another one might be show a picture of a guitar, and their job is to find someone in their class who can name that instrument or clap that rhythm or create a rhythm pattern, a whole bunch of different things for them to ask other students to do. I usually do this activity with grade 4 and grade 5, but you could also likely do it with like grade 6, grade 7. But they really enjoy it. I love doing this activity at the beginning of the year because it gets the students talking to each other. In my school, they aren't always with the same kids year after year. We have multi-level classes, so they all get mixed up. So this is a great way for them to get to know the students in their classroom and also for them to all express themselves musically. So Find a Musician Who Can is a great icebreaker activity. That's not like a cheesy icebreaker. The next one that I am going to suggest for one of my back to school faves is Four Corners. Now, Four Corners, how I play Four Corners is one of two ways. I either put a rhythm in the corner and I clap one of the rhythms in the corner, and who is ever in that corner is out, or I play it reverse and they want to go to that corner, or I will play my back to school rhythm game, rhythm Four Corners, which has no one in the middle. The students all go to a corner that is represented with either one sound, two sounds, three sounds, or four sounds. So they might end up in the TT corner. So that would be the 2-sound corner. Then on my smartboard, I pop up a back to school item. So say I popped up pencil. Pencil has 2 sounds. Everyone in the TT corner would be out and they would come sit in the middle. I play music as we rotate so that they can dance along and groove along. This I like because last year my kids were in love with it. And it's a pretty low stress game. If a student is new to my building and hasn't had me as a music teacher, they can often follow along with what other kids are doing, or because I teach like multi-grade levels, so I have like 1, 2s, and 3, 4s, it gives that lower grade level a chance to kind of figure out what it's like. So I'll likely play this with my 3, 4s at the beginning of the school, so the 3s will be able to feel more comfortable because it's a game they've played, and they can follow the 4s around and not have to worry necessarily about being right or wrong, because eventually it's just a game of luck. Another activity that I really like to do at back to school is what are called steady beat movement cards or stick figure movements. So the steady beat movement cards are in my Teacher Pay Teacher shop, and how I use these is I essentially have the different cards that I either project or I hold in my hand that have different ways to keep a steady beat. So tap it on your head, tap it on your shoulders, clap it, stomp it. And I'll put on a pop song and just rotate through the cards as we go through the pop song. So I usually do them for 8 counts, and so the song will be going and they'll clap for 8 counts. And then they clap for as long as they see the card. And then I'll flip it and they'll do another activity. That I usually use with my 1s and 2s. With my 3, 4s, and 5s, I use stick figure movement cards from Becca at Becca's Music Room. She talks about these all the time, and literally they have changed my life at the beginning of the year. Because again, it's a very stress-free way for the students to get moving. Essentially, they just have to put their bodies in whatever form the stick figure is in. Again, I do it with pop songs, nice and upbeat, nice and fast. And even at the end of the year, my kids would still request these because they're such a fun activity to do. So with my younger kids, the steady beat movement cards, and then with my older kids, I use the stick figure movements. And as an extension to the stick figure movements, I often have them create their own stick figure, and then we go and practice doing all of theirs as well. Another thing that I really like to do at the beginning of the year is group composition. And I will often use either my rhythm flashcards for this, or I will use one of my composition packages. For back to school, I like either using the back to school one or the ocean theme one. It's kind of neutral. It's seasonal neutral. So if it carries on past the back to school season, it's still great. So I use for my group composition the quarter page cards out of my composition packages. So I use these quarter page cards. These ones are out of the back to school composition. And I'll put the students in groups of 4 to 6. And I'll give them each about 8 to 12 cards that they use. And essentially all that they have to do is put them in an order, agree on an order to put them in, and then practice clapping them and performing them, things like that. I love doing this again for the reason that in my multi-grade level classes, the older students can help the younger students. It's an easy way to introduce composition right from the get-go, because sometimes I find that composition can be one of those trickier things to teach for me in the music room. So by doing it this way, we introduce it right away. We take out any like stigma that the kids might have about creating their own song, and they get to work in groups. And I love having students work in groups early on because they get to build connections within the classroom. My students often find that group work is fun and they're willing to do it, they're willing to try, and then there is that mentorship piece in there. So like I said, how we do this is they get the cards, they lie them out in whatever order they want, they practice clapping them, and then they will either perform it for the class, or if it's not a class that's ready to perform, I'll have the groups rotate through each other's compositions and try to figure out how to clap another group's composition. Another great thing that's super easy that the kids really enjoy right at the beginning of the school year. Another thing, I've said another a lot in this video, another thing that again has the kids working in groups that I really like is Kerplunk. So essentially how I play Kerplunk at the beginning of the year is we do it all as a class, and I separate the kids into 4 teams usually, 6 maybe if they're bigger groups. And I keep a chart on the board. On the screen, I put up a rhythm, or using rhythm flashcards, I show a rhythm. I get the first team to try to clap the rhythm. If they get it right, they get a point. Next card goes to the next team. Next card, next team. When they get a Kerplunk card, whoever the Kerplunk lands on, all of that team loses their points. Again, we do this in groups so that it's a safe way for kids to start to experiment with rhythm. They can learn from each other. They can rely on those older classmates. And it's a game that we often play year to year with different concepts, so they're often very familiar with it. Now, 2 other quick things to consider as activities for back to school. One is to do some of your favorite activities. Show your students what you love about teaching music. That's one that I often do, is I'll pick one of my favorite songs and I'll tell my kids, this is Miss Jana's favorite song that we're gonna do today. And that usually gets them pretty hyped up, and it shows them what it's like to have you as a music teacher. On the flip side of that, especially when you've been teaching in a school for a longer time or with your older kids, have them give suggestions of what they would like to do on those first couple days of school. Maybe there's a song that they really liked last year that they would like to do again, and that will help the students have voice in the classroom and will also bring in their own personalities into your lessons early on, which is great. So some things as a recap that I like to consider when I am planning for back to school, and what has led to me choosing these for back to school favorites, are things that the kids can do while interacting with each other, and also things that I know they're really going to enjoy. They're either tried and true lessons from before, or things that I've heard other teachers really enjoy. Those are top 2 things that I consider when planning my back to school lessons. Another thing that you could consider with planning your back to school lessons is try to introduce snippets of what will be in the year. And I do that through my composition, through my Kerplunk. We're gonna talk about rhythms, we're gonna make our own songs. We're going to play games through that 4 corners game. So try to give them little snippets about what it will be like to have you as a music teacher. So I hope that gives you some ideas of some of my back to school favorite activities that are like not songs and games, because there's lots of information about those types of things. So here is something a little bit different. If you liked this video, make sure that you like, subscribe, and share so that more people can find it. And again, check the description for all of the links. I have lots of these. I have all of these activities as Teacher Pay Teachers products if you wanted something ready-made, but you can definitely make them yourself. But if you would like something that's ready-made, print and go, give it to the kids, go check out the links down below. So until next time, See you later, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.